Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our speakers and participants around the world. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you joining us today for the Global Water Exchange Summit 2024, co-organized by World Research Management Office and Water Exchange Center from School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Baptist University. The summit aims to provide a dynamic forum for the exchange of insights, exemplary projects, and innovative research in the realm of virtual exchange. It aims to foster collaboration and share knowledge among educators, practitioners, and administrators around the world who are committed to enriching teaching and learning through virtual exchange. Our summit this year places particular emphasis on the theme of cultural exchange and global citizenship. So hello all, my name is Anna, and I represent Global Water Exchange Summit Organizing Committee. May we now invite Professor Ronald Chung, Dean of School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Baptist University, to deliver us the welcome remarks. Professor Chung, please.
Thank you, Anna. Good morning, Dr. Amy Sarch, esteemed speakers and participants. It's with immense pleasure that I welcome you to the Global Virtual Exchange Summit 2024 of the School of Continuing Education, Hong Kong Baptist University. It's a distinct honor of mine to officiate this particular summit, which is an event to bring us together virtually from across the globe to explore innovative ideas and practices in the field of virtual exchange. As we gather here today, it's essential to recognize the significance of virtual exchange in our increasingly interconnected world. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the adoption of digital platforms, transforming the way we engage in education, research, and also cultural exchange. Virtual exchange is not only about access to quality education, but also fosters cross-cultural understanding, allowing us to connect with individuals from diverse backgrounds and perspectives. In a time when global challenges such as climate change, social inequality, and political unrest, unfortunately, require collaborative solutions, the role of virtual exchange becomes even more critical. By leveraging technology, we can break down geographical barriers, enabling students, educators, and researchers to engage in meaningful dialogue and collaboration regardless of their physical location. Over the next 2 days, we will delve into a variety of topics that highlight the transformative potential of virtual exchange. Our agenda includes discussions on the following key areas: technologies for global connection, intercultural competence and quality teaching, virtual exchange on sustainability, equality, access, and inclusion in global exchange, health and well-being across the globe, virtual exchange and global citizenship. Our diverse community comprises over 50 distinguished speakers from 20 different countries, each bringing a wealth of perspectives and expertise to our discussions. I encourage each of you to actively participate in the sections and discussions. Your insights, experience, and questions are invaluable to the success of this particular summit. I encourage you to seize this particular opportunity to network, exchange ideas, and collaborate with your fellow participants. I invite you to connect with one another at our virtual matching fair on PetNet. This is a valuable chance to establish connections that can extend well beyond the duration of this particular summit. Lastly, I would like to express my appreciation to our Research Management Office, headed by Dr. Sam Lau here, and Virtual Exchange Center, VEC, headed by Anna here, Anna Yun, for the unwavering partnership in organizing this particular event. The summit has received official support from 5 higher education institutions and organizations across 5 different countries and regions, including Shenandoah University of US, International Islamic University of Malaysia, Federation for Self-Financing Tertiary Education of Hong Kong, Jai Larang Vigyas University of India, Holy Child Central Colleges of Philippines, and so on. Their committed efforts have successfully brought together over, here it says 460, but I heard from my colleagues that now it's over 500 participants from diverse backgrounds, all united by a common goal of advancing education through virtual exchange. Additionally, I want to acknowledge the hard work of the organizing committee and helpers who have made this particular summit possible. Your commitment and enthusiasm for promoting education and cultural exchange are truly commendable. In closing, I want to express my excitement for this fruitful and engaging discussion that lie ahead. Let us make this opportunity to be valuable, so we can learn from one another, share our experiences, and inspire each other to continue our work in transforming education through virtual exchange. Thank you once again for being here. I wish you all a successful and enriching summit. Thank you, every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chung. Now we will officially begin the summit. Before we start the opening keynote section, I want to remind that we encourage your participation. Please feel free to submit your questions in the chat box throughout the section. We will have a Q&A section following the keynote. Please take note that the whole keynote presentation section will be recorded and be uploaded to YouTube. So kindly mute your microphone during the section. So now I'm delighted to introduce our opening keynote speaker, Dr. Amy Sarch. Dr. Sarch is the Associate Provost for Academic Affairs at National University, US. She brings 25 years of administrative leadership experiences in both private and public sectors. She has led significant curriculum reform and innovative programs that engage stakeholders at all levels. Under her guidance, National University has gained recognition as a leader in general education in the US. Dr. Sarch also consults for US institutions nationwide and internationally on curriculum reform and global learning initiatives. So now, please join me to warmly welcome Dr. Sarch to the virtual stage. Dr. Sarch, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'm so excited to be here. And I'd like to thank Professor Chung and Anna and Ethan and the committee for this invitation. I'm honored and I'm thrilled. I had the incredible opportunity to meet all three of these wonderful human beings about a year ago when I visited Hong Kong Baptist University, and we actually signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, where we committed to have this international collaboration. So I'm really thrilled to be here and thrilled that I actually have gotten to know a lot of you while we are here visiting. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this works. So give me a second. Okay. Is that good? Okay, terrific. Okay, so I'm going to take some time today to talk about value and how it relates to global virtual exchange. And I urge you to ask me questions in the chat, and Anna will be fielding those afterwards. And if I don't have time to answer those, my email is on that last slide, so please email me. And I'm also just going to give, just let you know that this is from the context of Shenandoah University somewhat, and really from the perspective of what is happening in the United States. And this hopefully will have a lot of relevance to all of you in different ways. So let me start by giving you some context. So I wanted to talk to you about the university where I am coming from, and also my role at that university. And this context is pretty important to my talk today. So Shenandoah University is located in Winchester, Virginia, in the United States. It's about 70 miles west of Washington, D.C., and about 15 miles from the border of the state of West Virginia. Shenandoah is a private comprehensive university, and we have about 4,000 students. So comprehensive meaning that we're not just a liberal arts university, we also have professional programs. And our 4,000 students are basically divided in half between graduate programs and undergraduate programs. And we have two of our graduate schools, our School of Graduate Health Professions and our School of Pharmacy are only graduate, and the other four are a mixture of undergraduate and graduate. My role at Shenandoah University as Associate Provost, I directly report to the Provost, who is our Chief Academic Officer. And my role is that I oversee programs that do not live in one particular school. So I showed you the schools that are at Shenandoah. My role is to oversee programs that kind of fall through the cracks of those different schools. They span. So a student who is graduating from Shenandoah will touch base with some of them will touch base with all of these programs, and some will just have one. So as you can see on this list, the Center for Transformative Teaching and Learning, the General Education Curriculum, the Honors Program, and part of my programming is the Office of Global Engagement, which includes Global Education, which is our traditional study abroad, and also the Brzezinski Institute for Global Virtual Learning. Now, these programs are not the reason that a student applies or attends Shenandoah University. Students come to us because they want to major in acting, or they want to major in exercise science. They want to become a nurse. They want to play their sport and also study biology. All of the programs that I oversee have an added value to the student's university experience, whether that be undergraduate or graduate. And this is important because this means that I spend 100% of my time working with faculty and students who consider my programming something additional to the reason that they work or they attend Shenandoah. So most of my time is convincing faculty and students that these programs are valuable and worth their time and energy. So getting and maintaining institutional buy-in for my programs is a constant challenge. Now, what I have learned from doing this for years and years and years is that I cannot take for granted the value of any of these programs. I do not get institutional support by assuming that my colleagues on the faculty and that my colleagues on the administration see these programs as fundamentally fabulous as I do. So why is this relevant to us today? So I'm just going to say it, and I think this should resonate, and this is not a typical thing that you would normally hear in a keynote. Global Virtual Exchange, or COIL, and I will be using both of these terms interchangeably. Global Virtual Exchange, or COIL, is not a priority for our university administrations, and it is not a priority for a majority of our faculty. Now, that is the reality. They simply do not value, and there's complexity there that I want to explore. I want to talk about this value. Now, all of you here listening who are participating in this incredible conference, well, we are coming together to celebrate the value of Global Virtual Exchange in all its different renditions. So I do not need to convince any of you of the value, right? I mean, we know it develops intercultural skills, it prepares students for a diverse workplace and global partnerships, it enriches learning experiences, it connects students across borders. These are all fabulous. And students who otherwise may not have the opportunity to leave their country are able to connect with students from all over the world. And they get these global, international, intercultural experiences in the classroom. So this is familiar to all of us. So the value for us is obvious. And all the presentations at this conference truly speak to COIL's value. But we need to reframe and rethink how we discuss COIL's value with those who are not here, those who are not part of these conversations. And I think that we sometimes forget this because we are often coming together and celebrating and talking to one another. Now, I have yet to talk to any colleague who does not at least agree that COIL is a good thing. And we have been lucky enough at Shenandoah University to have a very well-funded Berzingi Institute for Global Virtual Learning, and it's run by a wonderful director, Dr. Yunus Mirza, who some of you may know or have heard of. And he'll be speaking later at this conference as well. We do our own in-house workshops. We have global partnering. We have wonderful technology support. And yet, faculty buy-in and internal funding for this institute has been a constant challenge. So moving that needle, and I don't know if you could see both sides of my screen because I think our pictures may be in the way, but moving our needle and global virtual exchange has been my goal, has been my mission. So we want to move the needle from global virtual exchange as a good thing to institutional buy-in. And that takes some strategizing and a lot of work. And I learned a great deal in my position at Shenandoah, where that is my world, where I'm championing numerous programs that need institutional support to grow and to thrive. So how can we move the needle from a handful of faculty who are implementing COIL and global virtual exchange into the fabric of the institution where we could institutionalize it? Now, first, it means confronting that stark reality that global virtual exchange and COIL is not necessarily a priority for a lot of our faculty and for administrators. And let's talk about why. And I really think that we need to focus on why so that we could figure out together some ways that we could combat that. So I want to first focus on administrators, and then I will move on to faculty. Now, why are administrators not providing the support or leading the effort to institutionalize global virtual exchange? Now, academic leaders certainly understand the potential educational value of COIL, but they also face very stark realities, at least in the United States. The stark realities of shrinking budgets, of ongoing declines in enrollment. So leaders have to balance their commitment to educational quality to these real world concerns about budget and survival. Now, if there were unlimited resources, of course, but these concerns are very real and ones that we need to take into account when framing COIL's value. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just talking about the context of higher education in the United States. And again, like I said, this is coming from a particular lens, but I'm hoping that the points that I'm raising are ones that we could work on all together. So this gives you some context to the decisions that administrators are making. There have been a wave of program cuts in recent months in the United States as colleges large and small try to make ends meet. Now, among these budget challenges is reasons for them. The federal COVID relief money is now gone. Operational costs are rising. And fewer high school graduates are going straight to college. Now, according to a recent poll, about one university or college per week so far this year, on average, has announced that it will close or merge in the United States. That is an increase from a little more than 2 closings a month last year. I promise I will go past the doom and gloom pretty soon. But let me just give you some examples. These 2 universities are within 2 to 4 hours of Shenandoah University. So West Virginia University is the largest public university in the state of West Virginia. It enrolls approximately 25,000 students. And it recently cut 143 faculty positions. The university's budget shortfall is projected to grow as high as $75 million in 5 years. Now, the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, another public university, has approximately 20,000 students, and they will be cutting 14 degree programs at various educational levels. Now, here are just some of the undergraduate and graduate programs that are being eliminated at these large public universities. And this is pretty indicative of what's going on across the United States. Hold on. Now, we have physics, we have legal studies, we have linguistics, mathematics. Now, when we talk about value, of course, physics and legal studies and literature and culture, these are valuable student experiences. Yes, but these programs were dropped from these large universities because they were not making the university money. And in many cases, they were losing money. So with these programs and these these job cuts, as I mentioned, West Virginia University cut 143 faculty positions. Senior administration is feeling the pressure, and faculty are feeling the pressure. And it is within this context that we are asking our administration to understand the value of global virtual exchange. Now, I think it is really important to understand this climate, and we tend to overlook it and overlook some of these realities because we know COIL's value among ourselves. And we know these benefits to virtual exchange. But again, we have to explain it to the audiences that are not here. So how can we frame virtual exchange in terms of value that university administrators will support? And I think this is a question that we, as a global virtual exchange community, do not openly discuss enough. We lament, and I've been to so many conferences and so many different universities talking about global virtual exchange, and I hear the laments over and over again. And basically, it's complaining about not necessarily having the support and hoping that the administrators will see the light and that they'll get it. And I don't have all the answers, but I have some thoughts. And I think that we need to discuss this together and meet and be a little more strategic instead of just waiting for them to realize the value. Because like I said, of course, they understand that physics is valuable, but they're dropping some programs that they know are valuable. So that if we talk about this openly and brainstorm ways that we can move that needle together. So to simplify, we need to show impact in terms of student engagement and retention, because that is tied to enrollment. And at least in the United States, enrollment is the thing that keeps universities open. I think that's universal, right? Healthy university enrollment equals university survival for most of us. So one way to show impact in terms of student engagement and retention is to be able to identify where global virtual exchange is happening on our college campuses, and to include global virtual exchange in the metrics that we use to measure academic performance and retention. So this is a must and needs to be part of our discussions about COIL assessments. And I'm going to offer one suggestion, just one, and hoping that this will help us brainstorm. And I'm not assuming this is a solution, but hopefully it'll spark some discussion along the lines and inspire us to think of other ways that we could collect this data. So we know that COIL and Global Virtual Exchange are high impact practices. And leaders in this world, like Florida International University and others, state this specifically on their websites. Now, why is this important? This is really important because high impact practices increase student retention and engagement rates, the data that administrators focus on, the data that is really important for them to have right now. Now, for those unfamiliar with high impact practices, this is actually a term that was coined by an educational researcher, Dr. George Q, about 18 or so years ago. And he conducted research assessing the conditions on college campuses in the United States that enhance student success. And Q recommends to increase student engagement and student success, every student should participate in at least 2 high impact practices during their academic career, but ideally, every student should participate in 1 high impact practice each year in college. So we know that Global Virtual Exchange includes collaborative assignments and projects and global learning. So indeed, we know that Global Virtual Exchange is a high impact practice. So one suggestion is that we lean more into this classification. For assessment purposes, I'm talking about assessment, because we know that high impact practices increases student retention and engagement rates. Now, what I ask of you is to think about the things that your university measures for student retention on your campuses and tap into that. So the institutional assessment folks will know this. And ask how you measure high impact practices or the things that lead to your student retention on your campus, and integrate Global Virtual Exchange into that tracking and into that measuring. So in the United States, the National Survey for Student Engagement, or NSSE, is the most common national survey used to measure student engagement. This is a survey that is issued to first-year students upon entering the university and again the semester they graduate. And on our campus, we use NSSE for strategic planning as a metric for several items on our university strategic plan. We use it to look at overall student engagement with the institution over time. We use it as a cross-reference with other institution-wide surveys that we issue, as an overall gauge of how our students are doing compared to peer institutions in terms of high impact practices. So part of NSSE is to measure high impact practices already. But the high impact practices that NSSE surveys are only 6 of them, and those are the only ones that are highlighted here. Now, they do not measure diversity and global learning per se. They only measure it in terms of asking about study abroad. So they do not ask particularly about Global Virtual Exchange. But NSSE offers us the option to add questions. So what if the universities engaging in Global Virtual Exchange add a question about COIL or Global Virtual Exchange to an existing survey that universities are already using to measure student retention and engagement? Now, we can do this individually on our campuses, but if it is done collectively, we have more data because the survey actually compares your institution to peer institutions. Now, of course, I'm hoping and assuming that the data will show that Global Virtual Exchange correlates with student retention and engagement, but we don't know that until we collect that data. But first, in order to have that data, and now I'm getting to more particulars, we first need to move the needle because we need to have large enough numbers so that we can start collecting that data and figure out ways to institutionalize global virtual exchange across campuses. So I know on our college campus, we track that impact of so many things of these higher impact practices. And we ourselves do not yet track global virtual exchange because we don't have the numbers yet. On our college campus right now, we have probably in one semester about 10 faculty members who are doing global virtual exchange, but those numbers need to be bigger. So we started to grow our numbers and to institutionalize. And what I'm going to do is share some of the ways that we are doing this so that we could have those large enough numbers to have these assessments. And we could figure out a way to move that needle from the pockets of faculty who are doing global virtual exchange to that institutionalizing piece so that we could really measure global virtual exchange's impact. So how can we best support faculty to adopt global virtual exchange more widely? Now, we need the faculty to get on board, and those who already know it's a good thing, but they're not yet there. So understanding that the climate in higher education for faculty is scary right now. Programs are being cut, faculty positions are being cut. And so for some, they're just looking at this as that one extra thing. And we know, and I know all of you know this, I've had these in numerous conversations and it's in all the data. We know a lot of the reasons and the challenges for global virtual exchange and the reasons why faculty are not doing it. So some of the common challenges, the different time zones, right now it's 10:30 at night, in the United States. Languages, cultural differences, the academic calendars, the technology issues, we know all that. And on top of that, the preparation phase can take around 6 months. Faculty must also make the class active, reflective, experiential to their students. And on top of that, faculty members need to be interested in innovative pedagogy, be flexible, be enthusiastic about their work. This is a lot. And of course, this is not news to any of you here because you're all doing it. But it comes to no surprise to you that despite all of this, COIL is most often a faculty initiative. It is not top-down. And some of us wish it was because then we could get larger numbers and we could have more of that buy-in. COIL takes a lot of extra time and extra effort. Now, that extra time and extra effort is not often reflected in salaries or tenure decisions, and that's where we need that institutional support. But once a faculty agrees to commit that time and energy, there are an abundance of really excellent resources out there. One of them is this conference, right? So it's a time that we get to share all these best practices. And of course, SUNY COIL paved the way years back. And there are numerous resources when you go online and even you Google COIL or you Google Global Virtual Exchange, you often get this diagram. And this is one that we all tend to put on our websites. And this is the basic COIL definition. And we get the COIL design. This is very common. And this is one that that to some extent we all are using. So there's so much support once a faculty member agrees to come on board. There's so many options. There's conferences like this one. There are different strategies for ways to do icebreakers in your classroom. But what I'm talking about, again, is the things that aren't here, is how about some strategies for faculty buy-in? What are there ways that we can move that needle for those faculty without that time or energy to go through these steps and all this advanced preparation? So first, we need to openly recognize the pressure that faculty are under and not just hope that they see the light. And let's discuss how we can design global virtual learning experiences that alleviate some of that work involved. So COIL is so intentional, yes, and that's what makes it so wonderful of many things. But we want to be able to move that needle forward where we really need to find ways to standardize that process to ease the faculty workload so that this intentional design is already done for them. And this is something that we are attempting at Shenandoah University, and I know it is happening elsewhere. I know that here meaning Hong Kong Baptist University, you talk about pre-COIL, and I know in some other institutions they talk about COIL Light. And these are some of the ideas that I think we need to lean into a little bit more so that we could get those numbers. So at Shenandoah University, I'm just going to give you examples of some of the things that we're doing again so that we could brainstorm together. We have been lucky enough to receive a Stevens Initiative grant. And this grant is giving us 2 years of support. And we're just starting year 1. And this week is the first week of our semester. And we are embedding global virtual exchange into every first year seminar class. Now, for those who are paying attention, first year seminar is one of those high impact practices. So every first year student at Shenandoah University will be doing a global virtual exchange experience. We are partnering with one institution, Yarmouk University in Jordan. We are assigning our faculty partners, and we are designing global virtual exchange for the faculty. We are doing all the design work so that all of these faculty could come on board. So 500, at least about 550 students at Shenandoah University will be participating in the fall semester, and about 550 students at Yarmouk will be participating. So what I want to talk about just quickly are some of those design options. I'm not going to go into the weeds because there's probably so many different ways to do that. But I want to encourage to play with that COIL design, because what I keep seeing, and when I'm talking to different universities, what we very much stick to this design. And I think that there are ways that we could play with this design to kind of ease that faculty load. When I talk to faculty often, they want to do COIL, and they say to me many times, if we could have a plug and play, or if you could help me do it, they want that help. They want to be able to do it. And again, well, I'll talk about some of the pluses and minuses to this in a minute, but 3 options, and these are just options. There's so many different ways to do this, but in the traditional COIL, you have the icebreakers, which often is an artifact assignment. There's the collaborative task, and there's the reflection. So ways that we are doing this in our campus is that we have created 2 other options. So faculty who have done traditional COIL, they will still do that traditional COIL if they want to as part of this grant. They've had to have done it already. But what we are getting is an additional 50 faculty who are participating in Global Virtual Exchange who have never done it before, who would not be doing it unless we were designing the experiences for them. So one way we're doing it is that we created this artifact assignment for them. We spelled it out. We have timelines. Everything is completely spelled out. And that is becoming that collaborative task. Students will be in small groups. They'll be talking about their artifacts. And we created the joint assignment that they'll be doing, that collaborative task. The groups will be picking one object that they think represents their group discussion and creating a video on that object. And then they will be doing a reflection. And then we have another option where we have students will be watching the same speaker. And then we give them a bunch of prompts to talk about in small groups about that speaker. So they'll be doing a common experience and them discussing that in the small groups and then doing an assignment on that. So the particularities, I could talk to you about that offline and share that when we actually have done it a semester, and I could tell you the pluses and minuses of it, but these are some of the things we're doing. But what I'm trying to get at is that we are able to get masses of faculty on board to try out Global Virtual Exchange because we ease that path for them. And what we still have is that the time that we are cutting short is the time that professors have to work together. So the professors are not working as intensely together as they would in traditional COIL. We shorten that time frame on purpose because some don't have that 6 months. But what we are also hoping is that once we get all these faculty members on board, that we take off some of that fear. And then from there, if they want to try doing traditional COIL, we've opened that door for them and they're more willing to experiment. So it's kind of like hopefully a first step. But so the professor experience is shortened by a lot. But what is not shortened is the student experience. So it doesn't matter if a student is doing traditional COIL or any of these other two options that we develop for them, the students are still doing the same thing. They're still in intercultural international teams, they're still doing a project-based activity, and they're still doing that reflection. So on the one hand, again, it's easier for faculty, but we're still giving the students that same experience. And what this allows our campus to do is that we are going to be able to do a lot of assessment, and I keep focusing on assessment because I think we need those numbers. We will be able to compare the impact of traditional COIL with the impact of these lighter virtual exchanges. And who knows, we don't really know if the artifact assignment will be as effective or more effective than traditional COIL. But we need to be able to play around with the format and then assess it so that we know how to move forward from there. And what we're trying to get at is those numbers, is really trying to see what the impact of Global Virtual Exchange is so that we can make those arguments to our administrators. So how can we frame virtual exchange in terms of value that the university administrators will recognize? We need those numbers. We need those numbers to show that Global Virtual Exchange has that impact. And when we're creating assessments, we need to keep that in mind, to pick the thing, to look at the types of data that your administrators on campus look for and develop the assessments to align with that, or use existing assessments and add virtual exchange into that. And once we have those numbers, we're able to do that kind of assessment. So Shenandoah, by far, is not the only one who is doing this type of institutionalization. We have, I noticed on the program that the BCOIL project at the Berlin universities in Germany, they're doing some really impressive work. So I'm really excited to hear Erica Calories talk as a way to kind of look broadly at a way that COIL could be institutionalized across these different places. So just some suggestions that we create standardized Global Virtual Exchange options that can be easily adopted by faculty as a starter, or maybe they're as effective. Look across your curriculum to see where Global Virtual Exchange is embedded and collect the data. We need the data on the impact of Global Virtual Exchange on academic performance, retention, and persistence. So I challenge all of us to work towards designing Global Virtual Exchange experiences and measurements that help us to operationalize that value for the stakeholders that we need on board to move that needle forward. So thank you. I talked at you for a lot, and I'm hoping that this resonated at least somewhat, and I'm really excited to hear some of your questions and engage in conversation.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Sarch, for the enlightening presentation. So I believe that we learned a lot from her experience and also the experience of Shenandoah University. So now we will open the floor for questions. So please feel free to propose your questions in the chat. And now we invite our keynote speaker to respond to you. So maybe I ask the first question then. So
Sure.
yeah. So, Dr. Sarch, we see that Shutterknow actually have, you have in your presentation, you share that for the students and the first year students especially, so they need to somehow be attended to a course which is using the global virtual exchange, attend a global virtual exchange courses and makes it like a require, as a requirement for them. So my question here is, how do you see that has, somehow changes this? Is there any data that you receive that have enhanced the students' intercultural capability by doing so? So is there anything that you find, throughout the years that has improved the students in certain ways? Can you share more about that?
When I'm trying to understand the question, so ways that that we've been able to improve our students.
Yeah, because you have shared that actually for you, all year one students, actually they need to take courses that is with better with global virtual exchange experiences, right? So my question here is, after the students, attend this kind of classes then, so do they have a very obvious enhancement in terms of the areas like intercultural capability and, other areas then? So is there anything that you find that the students has improved in certain areas?
Yes, I mean, in the classes that do global virtual exchange, you're talking about the classes that engage in COIL already on our campus, not in the ones that we're proposing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we find that there is definitely an increase in global awareness, in multiple perspectives, in social responsibility, all of that. And all those are wonderful things. And I don't want to downplay the importance of that. That is so important. But what I'm trying to say is that when we're talking to our administrators about supporting COIL, that data is wonderful, but it's not enough necessarily to help us get more funding to do more global virtual exchanges, because, what I'm trying to do is figure out a way to kind of match the assessments with some of the things that the administration is looking for. So it's unbelievable to me. Students who end up doing global virtual exchange on our campus, it opens the doors. Some of them really do want to travel after that. It creates long-lasting friendships. It's been incredible. So I cannot wait to see, after we have an entire first-year class do global virtual exchange, to see all the doors that it's opening for them. So I cannot, and doing this in large numbers is really exciting to me. So I'm really excited to see where this will go.
So thank you so much. So this is what we're hoping to see once we introduce like virtual exchange elements in the courses, and it will be definitely benefit to the students. So we see that there are more questions that we find from the group chat here. So may I ask the questions on behalf of our audience? So there's a question asking, what kind of staffing do you have in the office of Shutterknow to prepare the programming that could reduce the workload of faculty? So because it really needs extra workloads for like coordination and for prepare for assignments. So is there any tips you can give to us?
Yes, and actually that's a really good question. And so we have a Center for Teaching and Learning on our campus. And at the Center for Teaching and Learning we have very talented curriculum designers. So our curriculum designers basically were the ones who created these experiences for the faculty. And it's actually new for Shenandoah University to have curriculum designers. So to be honest with you, at first, faculty did not want to work with the curriculum designers because they're like, I know how to do it. I've been teaching for 25 years, which is very true. I've been teaching for over 30 years, but I had to teach myself how to design a curriculum. But you have these people, we have them in our Center for Teaching and Learning who are curriculum designers, and that is their only job. And so we task them with designing these the exchanges for our faculty, and they did an amazing job. So it's very detailed. I mean, there's a timeline. It's incredible. So if you do have curriculum designers on your campus, this is a really good ours loved doing it. They learned something very new. None of them had done COIL before. It's because at the heart of really good global virtual exchange is really well-designed assignments. And that's their expertise. It's really good pedagogy. So it makes sense to pair up with your Center for Teaching and Learning because that's their expertise is the pedagogy.
Yeah. So I think the other question is actually like a follow-up of this one. So there's another asking about in terms of the human resources, how about to promote the GVE then? Is there really need a big office or a lot of administrators to help to promote that to the faculty members?
So I'm looking at this. Is it the one, can you tell us how to conduct initial global virtual exchange?
So the one that you can find also from the webinar chat, it should be like from the Curtis tree. So it's about it's asking about, so it's because we need to implement, the virtual exchange. So it's somehow that it might need a lot of manpower to do so. So is it really need a lot of administrators to be involved so as to promote to the faculty members in implementing, like COIL?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. So when I'm talking about administrative support, I'm meaning our faculty, and I don't know, I assume this is all over, feel very overloaded. So when we are asking them to do something else, they are asking for more money or if they could have a course release. And so the people who have the power to do that on our campus are the administrators. So when I'm talking about that, if you need administrative support, it's not the support to help you administer the COIL, it's the financial support and the recognition in terms of tenure or promotion. It's those larger things. So that's what I mean. So I think that I might have confused people when I was talking about administrative support. I really meant the funding and being able to pour resources to help faculty either give stipends to help, so they have the time to design it, hire curriculum designers or things like that as a way to really enhance the exchange. Does that make sense?
So maybe we ask like the audience that
yeah, I don't know if I'm answering that question.
Not as such. So actually I find some questions are quite similar. Maybe I combine them. So somehow I want to ask about, is there any like measurement or maybe there's any assessment can help to track to have to show that actually to the administrators or maybe show to the teaching colleagues that the students actually benefit from the virtual exchange or maybe from conducting COIL in classroom then. So what kind of assessments currently adopted by Chittagong University then?
So for the assessments, we do a very simple assessment in the classroom to measure success and measure the global awareness and the multiple perspectives. So we did an in-house survey for that. But in the past, there's lots of surveys out there. There's one called the Global Perspectives Inventory that we've used in the past to measure global awareness and multiple perspectives and social responsibility. So I could send that link. So if you email me, I'd be happy to send you that link. And there's another standardized, very common standardized assessment used for cultural awareness. And I don't remember the name offhand. And I think those levels of assessments are so important to show that the students are benefiting. But what I'm trying to talk about also is to think about the assessments that we use to track student engagement. And that is something that is done at our institution kind of on that larger level. That's not something that actually faculty will give in class. It's stuff it's surveys that students take upon entering Shenandoah University and then leaving Shenandoah University. So it's an institutional survey. So it's the type of thing that administrators, we also have something called a campus climate survey. So we figure out to ask students, if they feel like there's enough diversity on campus, things like that. So when I'm talking about assessment, it's on that 2 levels. So there's that classroom level, and we talk about that often. And I hear in different snippets of conversation trying to figure out that classroom level. But when we're talking about that large assessment, when we're looking for the administration to support this programming, it's really looking at student engagement, and that's something different. So at Shenandoah, we use, like I said, that NESI survey. And different universities use different things. And again, if you email me, I could see whether or not your university is on that list. And I could probably help you along with that and answer more specifically.
Yeah, I wish that Professor Dr. Sarch has answered your question. So I also see one that asking a question about, I think that would be also something that our audience would like to know. So how do we start the initial COIL then, or initial global virtual exchange, courses then? So I think it will be coming as like the first step. Everything have the first step. So how do students like start with the first COIL then? So how do like making like the first one, then it's come to implement like more and extensive in a more extensive manner nowadays. So what's the starting point? Why, when do you start the first COIL, and how it be being promoted to all around like nowadays?
Yeah, it's interesting. And there were universities that started COIL way before Shenandoah. For us, it started with COVID. So it started with kind of out of realizing that we're living on our computer. And we had, I talked about our Brzezinski Institute for Global Virtual Learning on our campus. That started off as a very different thing, and it ended up transforming into virtual exchange because we couldn't leave. We were all on our computers because of COVID. So we ended up finding COIL by accident. And there faculty who wanted to partner with other universities ended up taking workshops that exist online. We did the one with FIU initially, and there's one by SUNY COIL. And we had a group of us who did these workshops and then figured out a way to do our own in-house workshops with our own faculty. So in order to do COIL, you don't need that much training, but it really is helpful if you attend one of these workshops. And in these workshops, they help you get partners. So I know that, Anna, you are doing a lot of that work for your university. And not every university is lucky enough to have an Anna or to have a center like we do. But there's so many resources out there where you could use the resources that Anna's offering. And they're not just limited to her own faculty. Our resources are not just limited to our own faculty. And basically, you take the workshop and you find a partner and you get started. If you want to do one of the assignments that are pre-made, we plan to share those once we do them and figure out if they work. So part of what I'm trying to do too is to get us to do more of that sharing and more of that course design. So ones like COILs that you could actually put in any classroom that are not very specific to two particular classes.
Yeah, so that's another question for me, because I think that would be also something very interesting to the audience. So as I know that also Shenandoah University has conducted a very, renowned Zero Hunger project with university in Jordan. So I know that the mechanism somehow is talking about that the students from both sides also engaging in like some virtual exchange like interactions, but they do at the end they will come to visit each other's countries and really have physical exchange. Then can you explain, share us more about this experience? Because it's not only about virtual exchange, it's about bringing virtual into reality. So I think it's come out somehow that maybe that would be a mechanism that could be as serve as a references for us is after a pandemic way to do virtual exchange then.
Yeah, so we and I think Hong Kong does this as well. We also do virtual exchange that is outside of the classroom. So it's not, and again, what I'm also trying to do is to encourage us to talk about ways that we could play with the model, right? So it's not just that one model. And so we have a food insecurity club on our campus, and these are students who volunteer their time to package leftover food from the dining hall, and then they distribute this to our homeless population in Winchester. So we have these students already who are part of this club. And we actually ended up partnering with a group in Yarmouth University again, who are also interested in zero hunger. And they were also doing this outside of their classroom, and they were working with refugees in Jordan and trying to figure out ways to ease food insecurity with their refugee population. And they did a bunch of surveys and research to figure out what the refugees needed. And so these two groups of students at Shenandoah University and at Jordan would talk about once a month about the progress that they've had doing their own projects at those different campuses, to really just talk about two different ways that you know, two groups of students are making a dent in food insecurity. And the beautiful thing is they got to be friends. They spoke once a month online, and a lot of times it wasn't necessarily an agenda, but they would share best practices. And then we were lucky enough we've gotten a lot of outside funding. We had a grant that allowed the Shenandoah University students to go over to Jordan and actually walk through these refugee camps to see what the Jordanian students have been talking about, and look at the research that they were doing and some of the solutions they came up with. And then the Jordanian students were able to come to Shenandoah University and look at our food banks and get to know what type of situation exists at Shenandoah. And it was really a wonderful exchange. So it started online, and they were able to visit one another, and they still stay in touch. So WhatsApp is amazing. So they still stay in touch. And some of those faculty members and students are going to be part of this project again with us in the fall.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Sarch, Dr. Sarch. So I think, you know, we have answered quite a lot of questions. So it's time is like running short. So you know, thank you very much for your active participation. So, and also once again, thank you so much for Dr. Sarch for to be our, you know, opening keynote. So now we will be bringing you to see about the EventX platform. We want to show you about how you can, you know, line up for different collaboration opportunities for virtual exchange. And as well, we want to share to you that how can you actually engage in live networking with your friends around here. So if you log in for the EventX, so maybe it's a new platform to some of you. So once you log in, then you will find our schedule here, and you can also see that there's actually a matching palette. You know, while you're clicking on that, it directly bring you to matching palette. Then you can call for collaborations around through there. So there are some of our colleagues already posed that. So welcome to pose your collaboration opportunities here. And also we have a live sections for people to somehow engaging with one another and, you know, to meet up virtually online. So when you click on the networking launch, so actually we open up for different, you know, networking launch according to the things that we propose for this summit. So if you're interested in the topics related to technologies for global connections, you may join here for live checking. So you just join the discussion, and then people will join around with you then. It will be also having other areas like intercultural competence, quality teaching, and virtual exchange of sustainability, equality, access, inclusion in global exchange. And then there another one on health and well-being, as well as the last one talking about virtual exchange and global citizenship. So if you're really interested in meeting your friends around, you know, in life now, so you're welcome to check it out and meet up your, you know, the participants around that. So once again, thank you, Dr. Sarch, for the very enlightening presentation. And we also want to thank everyone for attending this, you know, this keynote section. So we're hoping to see you. You're joining our panel sections after the short break. So we will have the panel section starting on Hong Kong time, 11:30 then. So we hope to see you very soon. So thank you so much. So if you have more questions, I think Dr. Sarch is very welcome to have your questions emailed to her because she leave us her email already. So once again, thank you everyone and hope to see you later in the panel sections.
Thank you. And again, please email me because I'm seeing all the questions now in the chat. I'm not quite sure if I even got to what you were asking. So I'm more than happy to engage further in conversation. And I look forward to attending as much of this conference as I can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If Dr. Sarch is well, you know, is it okay with you? Maybe you share your last slide again so everyone can see your email again.
How could I put it in the chat? Would that help?
Yeah, you can. So please put in the chat then as well. So like everyone can also know the way to find you then.
Did everyone see that?
Yeah, so you're welcome to reach her. So she's very nice and she's very professional as well as experienced senior administrator. So I believe that she will be very, very helpful to share you her experience. So thank you, everyone. Thank you attending the opening keynote and hope to see you in the coming sections. We're also having other keynote sections later today. So wish to see you because we're also having different panels, including the upcoming at 11:30 that will be technologies for global connections, and also another one running parallel on equality, sex and inclusion in global exchange, starting in Hong Kong time, 11:30. So we wish to see you very soon after the short break then. So thank you, everyone. So see you later in the panel then, in the panel sections then. Thank you. And thank you once again to Dr. Sarch. So bye-bye everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we want to lastly invite everyone to also fill up the questionnaire. Once we enter the, the web chat, then you will be invited to fill in a questionnaire regarding the speech then. So you're welcome to also scan the QR code and give us feedback. We treasure your feedback. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sarch. So we're about to end the webinar and wish to see you shortly in the coming time.
Thank you. Can everyone hear us or is just us?
There are also other participants.
Okay, bye everybody. I can only see everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for the invitation and good luck for the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much. And we're having Jonas on the other day.
Oh yeah, when is Eunice on tonight or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.